Part 7. Immortal world is back, I am invincible. Author, listen to the wind with your L. Chapter 61. Lin Zixuan breathed a sigh of relief. She was really afraid that Suyu would agree to Zhangwan going to Tianhai. Tang Yuxin's pretty face was full of nervousness. Suyu was really too evil. Can she really keep up with Suyu's progress in the future? She glanced at Zhangwan. She felt that she was not as good as Zhangwan at all, and a trace of disappointment flashed in her beautiful eyes. Zhangwan's current cultivation level is at least in the sky control realm, and she is also the vice president of Tianhai Immortal Martial Academy. She can help Suyu a lot. If Suyu went to Tianhai Immortal Martial Academy, he might not have to worry about the must-kill list of the Imperial Capital Immortal Martial Academy. She stubbornly believed that Suyu's rejection of Zhangwan must be because of her. It was she who blocked Suyu's bright future. Tang Yuxin moved her lips and wanted to speak. Lin Zixuan was the first to say, "Zhangwan, stop messing around. Suyu's girlfriend is Tang Yuxin. As the vice president of Tianhai Immortal Martial Academy, can you be more serious?" She walked to Tang Yuxin and explained, "Yuxin, you don't have to listen to her nonsense. She never tells the truth." Tang Yuxin pursed her lips and nodded. Wang Menglu, whose cultivation had reached the early stage of innate, walked out of the formation. Her face was full of excitement. She heard what Zhangwan just said, "Yuxin, don't worry, Suyu won't be seduced away. You have to have some confidence in yourself." Zhangwan fell into deep self-doubt, and her beautiful eyes rested on Suyu. Could it be that her charm has declined? Impossible. The problem must lie with Suyu. "Brother Suyu, are you sure your sexual orientation is okay?" Zhangwan asked. Lin Zixuan shouted sweetly, "Zhangwan, you've had enough. Mr. Chiao and Mr. Wei are still here, can you stop talking nonsense? It's strange that there is something wrong with Suyu's sexual orientation. Last night she personally experienced Suyu's powerful impact. When I think of that shameful scene, there was an indescribable feeling in her heart." Mr. Wei took a deep breath, and after adjusting his emotions, he nodded and said, "Girl of the Zhang family, you must not be rude in front of Xiao Su. Now Su Xiao is not only the strongest one-star alchemist on earth, he is also the strongest two-star array mage on earth. In terms of setting up the two-star formation, Old Man Chiao and I are definitely not as good as Su Xiao." He sighed. Mr. Chiao agreed, "Girl from the Zhang family, if Su Xiao is willing to go to Tianhai with you, Mr. Wei and I will not interfere. But if you want to force Su Xiao, Old Man Wei and I will not stand idly by. Did you hear that clearly?" Zhangwan put away the smile on her face, nodded seriously and said, "Mr. Wei, Mr. Chiao, I understand. I was just joking with Suyu." She didn't want to offend Mr. Wei and Mr. Chiao. Now Mr. Wei is a 4-star formation mage, and Mr. Chiao is a 3-star formation mage. It is said that the highest level formation master on earth has arrived at 7 stars. Mr. Wei and Mr. Chiao have never seen the 7-star formation master. Little friend Su, in order to express my apology, I am willing to take out a piece of broken formation for you to study." While talking, Mr. Wei took out an old and broken piece of paper from his body, which showed the layout of a certain formation. "It's just a lot incomplete." Mr. Wei treasured this broken formation very much. "Little friend Su, this formation is called the Ancient Elephant Formation. It is a 5-star formation. It's a pity that this formation is incomplete. Not long ago, I visited a 5-star formation mage with this broken formation. But he has no clue about this and has no ability to complete this formation." He sighed and continued, "However, this is a 5-star formation after all. Even if it is incomplete, it will still be beneficial if we study it more." Mr. Chiao next to him smiled and said, "Old Man Wei, you are finally willing to take out this incomplete 5-star ancient elephant formation diagram. I have asked you many times before, but you have always found various reasons to refuse. Now that I meet little friend Su, you are willing to take the initiative. You really don't take me seriously. Mr. Wei said angrily, what can you understand? Although Su Xiao's formation master level is lower than yours, he is extremely talented and may be able to learn something from it. He and Mr. Chiao determined that Su Yu was now a 2-star formation mage. After handing a piece of broken formation diagram to Su Yu's hand, Mr. Wei took out thousands of red high-grade spirit stones from the storage ring. Little friend Su, you can use the spirit stones here as you wish. If you gain some understanding after reading this diagram of the remaining formation, you can arrange the formation on the spot. Mr. Wei said proudly. The storage ring on his finger was obtained from a ruins a long time ago. There are at least 5,000 high-grade spiritual stones on the ground now. 100 high-grade spiritual stones equal 1 billion. 1,000 high-grade spiritual stones equals 10 billion. Then the value of 5,000 pieces of high-grade spiritual stones is a full 50 billion. For a powerful formation master like Mr. Wei, the country would subsidize him a lot of spiritual stones every year. 5,000 high-grade spiritual stones may seem like a lot, but once you set up the formation, they will be completely consumed very quickly. This is one of the reasons why array masters are rarer than alchemists. Array masters consume money faster than alchemists. Array masters who have not grown up in the early stage cannot obtain national subsidies. Even wealthy families find it difficult to train an array master. Not to be outdone, Mr. Chiao also took out 5,000 high-grade spirit stones. The storage ring on his finger was something he spent a lot of time and energy to obtain. Little friend Su, feel free to use my spirit stone. Mr. Chiao said with a smile. Lin Zixuan and Zhang Wan next to them were very envious of Mr. Wei and Mr. Chiao's storage rings. Tang Yuxin and Wang Menglo stared blankly at the high-grade spiritual stones all over the floor, unable to regain their composure. Su Yu felt the sincerity of these two old men. He lowered his head and glanced at the residual formation map in his hand. With just one glance, he understood everything. No more nonsense. A thought came to his mind. Pieces of high-grade spiritual stones on the ground were suddenly suspended in mid-air. Immediately afterwards, these spiritual stones instantly landed in different directions in the villa. Just a few seconds. When Su Yu injected entering spirit into the ground, a thick blue light rose into the sky from the ground. The terrifying formation fluctuations split the sky. In the unbelievable eyes of everyone, the shadow of a giant elephant more than 20 meters high condensed in Lin Zixuan's villa. Terrifying destructive power erupted from this giant elephant. The aura alone made Mr. Wei and Mr. Chiao pale. Mr. Wei said with a trembling voice, "Is this the 5-star ancient elephant formation?" "It's unmistakable, this is definitely the 5-star ancient elephant formation." He stared at Su Yu with blazing eyes. "Senior Su, did you complete this incomplete formation in your mind at once? And you can actually create an array with just one thought. Not even a 6-star formation mage can be like you. You are at least a 7-star formation mage." Mr. Wei didn't hesitate anymore. He knelt down to Su Yu with a pop sound and said, "Senior Su, please accept me as your disciple." He knew that once he missed this opportunity, he would regret it for the rest of his life. Mr. Chiao became anxious and shouted, "Old man Wei, you are so shameless. You took away what I had to say." He hurriedly knelt down and kowtowed to Su Yu, "Senior Su, please accept me as your disciple. I am more sensible than old man Wei." These two people are obsessed with formations. In their eyes, there is only the level of formation attainment, not age. With Su Yu's formation attainments, he is definitely more than enough to be their master. Immortal world is back, I am invincible. Author, listen to the wind with your L. Chapter 62. The sky is blue and cloudless. The breeze blew slowly and the leaves rustled. After Zhongwan and Lin Zixuan saw Mr. Wei and Mr. Chiao kneeling down one after another, their mouths opened slightly in shock, and an incredible light flashed in their beautiful eyes. Mr. Wei and Mr. Chiao have a high status in the Xia Kingdom's formation world. Due to the scarcity of array masters, a 3-star formation mage is already extremely impressive. Not to mention that Mr. Wei is a 4-star formation mage. No matter which city these two old men go to, they can become guests of all major forces. Now they are kneeling and kowtowing to a young boy in his 20s, and even saying they want to become a disciple? If they hadn't seen the scene with their own eyes, Lin Zixuan and Zhongwan would never have believed it. Then think again. The two women felt that Mr. Wei and Mr. Chiao's decisive decision was very correct. Suyu can easily complete an incomplete 5-star formation, and he can form a formation with just one thought. This is a legendary magical skill. Just as Mr. Wei guessed, Suyu was at least a 7-star array master. Currently, Xiaoqiuming's strongest formation master is only Qixing. Under normal circumstances, the 7-star formation mage is like a divine dragon. These big figures at the top of the pyramid in the formation world will be worshipped by all the formation masters. Mr. Wei and Mr. Chiao are very old. They want to take another step forward in the formation process, but it is difficult to reach the sky. If there is a 7-star formation master who is willing to give them guidance, maybe they can climb a higher mountain in their lifetime. Lin Zixuan and Zhongwan were filled with horror, and they looked at Suyu in unison. Such a young 7-star formation mage. If this matter spreads, it will definitely cause a sensation all over the world. Zhongwan bit her red lips and said, "Zixuan, I want to bet on Suyu. I will definitely make him agree to follow me back to Tianhai." The woman was very emotional. But she didn't kneel down and beg to become a disciple, she had other plans in her heart. Being Suyu's apprentice is not as good as being his woman. Lin Zixuan frowned and said, "Zhongwan, when did you become so shameless? In Tianhai Immortal Martial Academy, as long as you are willing to have evil geniuses come to kneel and lick you, why bother spending time on Suyu?" Zhongwan Miai's eyes were firm. Are they evil, Suyu? Besides, Suyu is not bad looking. He is my type. Lin Zixuan snorted coldly. If I had known this, I shouldn't have called Zhongwan to Linzhou. Now it's like inviting a wolf into the house. She pursed her lips tightly. If the 7-star formation master in front of her was someone else, she would definitely kneel down and worship him without hesitation. But it happened to be Suyu. She has already had that kind of relationship with Suyu, so it is naturally impossible for her to become a disciple in public. Tang Yuxin and Wang Menglu next to them fell into horror and couldn't extricate themselves. Suyu is a 7-star array mage? Suyu turned out to be a 7-star array mage. They couldn't believe their eyes and ears. Was what they saw real? Is what you heard true? Wang Menglu's emotions were like a mountain falling apart. She was feeling dizzy. After taking a deep breath for a while, she said, "Xiao Xingxin, you must hold on to Suyu tightly from now on, otherwise he may be seduced away by others." Tang Yuxin's beautiful eyes were fixed on Suyu's back, and she glanced at Mr. Wei and Mr. Chiao who were kneeling respectfully on the ground. While she was proud of Suyu, she also fell into deep self-doubt. Can I really keep up with Suyu in the future? Tang Yuxin said to herself in her heart. Suyu had already closed the ancient elephant formation, and the condensed shadow of the giant elephant dissipated in the world. He looked at Mr. Wei and Mr. Chiao, frowned and said, "You two stand up. I have no plans to take on a disciple now. When I want to take on a disciple in the future, I can give you a chance. To be honest." Suyu looked down upon the formation talents of these two old men. In the immortal world, there are countless formation geniuses who want to become their disciple. In the end, he took on very few apprentices. There is really no comparison between these two old men and the geniuses of immortal world. However, Xia Kingdom is his hometown. Before leaving the earth in the future, he will leave some inheritance to the Xia kingdom. When the time comes, he will consider taking on one or two formation disciples. Seeing that Mr. Wei and Mr. Chiao had no intention of standing up, he said coldly, "Don't let me say it a second time." Hear the words. The two old men finally stood up. They didn't want to anger Senior Su. Anyway, there is some hope. Mr. Wei said respectfully, "Senior Su, you have arranged the 5-star ancient elephant array to the extreme. The average 5-star ancient elephant formation can at most suppress monks at the peak of the sky control realm. And the 5-star ancient elephant formation you deployed can easily crush even a half-stepped monk. Old Man Chiao and I are just halfway through our cultivation. We can be sure that if the giant elephant shadow just raised its foot and trampled down on us, we would definitely die. The creation realm is a realm above the sky control realm. The realm of creation is also divided into early stage, middle stage, late stage, peak and great perfection. Half-step creation refers to the type of monks who have not truly entered the realm of creation, but have left the great perfection of the sky control realm. There are still many unused spiritual stones on the ground. Suyu took 6 pieces of high-grade spirit stones, sketched some complex patterns on them, and said, "The range of the 5-star ancient elephant array will cover the entire villa. When the formation is on, if someone breaks in without authorization, they will be attacked by the formation. As long as you carry the spirit stones I have sketched with you, the formation will ignore your existence and you can enter and exit freely. Say it." He distributed the spirit stones to Lin Zixuan and others. "Yuxin, please consolidate your cultivation. Don't think too much, everything will be up to me in the future. I will give you a bright future." Suyu touched Tang Yuxin's head and assured. Tang Yuxin's inner uneasiness and self-doubt immediately dissipated without a trace. She sat down cross-legged in the backyard and began to adapt to Inate's initial cultivation. Wang Menglo sat down next to her and also began to feel the cultivation after the breakthrough. "Just go ahead and do whatever you need to do, don't just stand here stupidly," Suyu said calmly. Mr. Wei and Mr. Chiao left the backyard respectfully. Lin Zixuan and Zhang Wan both wanted to talk to Suyu, but Mr. Wei and Mr. Chiao had to be greeted by someone. They could only leave the backyard together. "Girl of the Lin family, there are many empty rooms in your villa. I will stay with you today," Mr. Wei said. Mr. Chiao immediately said, "Girl Zixuan, prepare a room for me too." Zhang Wan smiled and said, "Zixuan, don't forget that you still have me." Lin Zixuan said angrily, "Zhang Wan, come with me to clean up the room." Zhang Wan did not refuse. Mr. Wei and Mr. Chiao started wandering around the villa. They couldn't control their excitement. A real 7-star array master is here, and they can't calm down at all. The two came to the terrace on the 2nd floor. "Old Man Wei, do you think Senior Su's formation master level will exceed 7 stars? Mr. Chiao asked with his heart beating wildly. After thinking for a moment, Mr. Wei said, "It is possible, but it is not very likely. On today's Earth, how long will it take for a 7-star array mage to enter the 8 stars? It's simply unimaginable." "Say it." He suddenly felt that there was no movement next to him, turned around and saw Mr. Chiao rushing to a wine jar. After Suyu finished drinking, he threw the wine jar aside casually. There was an lingering aroma of wine in the air. Mrs. Wei was so excited just now that she ignored the smell. Now taking a deep breath, he suddenly felt refreshed. He rushed over without any nonsense and saw that there was still a mouthful of wine left in the wine jar. This is what is left after Suyu didn't drink it all. After approaching the wine jar, before he drank the wine, Mr. Wei felt that his whole body was boiling with spiritual energy, and there was a faint tendency to break through. He grabbed the wine jar and said, "Old Man Chiao, this wine belongs to me." Mr. Chiao said angrily, "Old Man Wei, you fart, you shameless thing, I discovered this." He also grabbed the wine jar. The two started fighting without giving in. After Lin Zixuan and Zhang Wan noticed the movement, they came to the terrace on the second floor. "What are Mr. Wei and Mr. Qiao doing?" Zhang Wan said doubtfully. Lin Zixuan remembered that this wine jar was what Su Yu had used to drink. She was a little unsure and said, "Mr. Wei and Mr. Qiao are robbing Su Yu of the remaining wine." You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Immortal World is back, I am invincible. Author, listen to the wind with your L. Chapter 63. Zhang Wan thought she heard wrongly. What kind of people are Mr. Wei and Mr. Qiao? Do they need to rob others of their leftover wine? If word of this got out, no one would believe it. Zixuan, are you sure the wine in the jar is the leftover wine from Su Yu's drink? Mr. Wei and Mr. Qiao don't have to do this to flatter Su Yu. Zhang Wan murmured to herself. Lin Zixuan looked helpless, and she sent a message to Su Yu. Now we can only let Su Yu persuade these two old men. She doesn't have this ability. Old man Wei, the last sip of wine in the wine jar belongs to me. Please let go immediately, otherwise don't blame me for being rude to you. Mr. Qiao's aura of half-step creation rose to the sky. Not to be outdone, Mr. Wei also raised a terrifying momentum. Old man Qiao, you are the one who should let go, otherwise I will beat you to pieces. Just when these two old men really wanted to take action, Su Yu came to the second-floor terrace. Tang Yuxin and Wang Menglu followed him. Why did you ask me to come here? Su Yu looked at Lin Zixuan. He was a little more patient with the woman he had sex with. Otherwise, he would not pay attention to Lin Zixuan's message. Su Yu saw Mr. Wei and Mr. Qiao robbing the wine jar he threw on the terrace. In the voice transmission just now, Lin Zixuan just asked Su Yu to come over quickly, without saying what the specific matter was. Are they too crazy? What are you doing to steal my lost wine jar? Su Yu frowned. Lin Zixuan said with a strange expression, Mr. Wei and Mr. Qiao seem to be fighting for the last sip of wine left in the wine jar. This sentence made Wang Menglu and Tang Yuxin think that their hearing was wrong. Mr. Wei and Mr. Qiao are both people who can produce 5,000 high-grade spiritual stones. They can't drink any wine. Why do you want to snatch the remaining sip of wine from Su Yu? Even a beggar wouldn't do this. What about you two? Stop. Otherwise, get out of the villa. Su Yu said calmly. When Mr. Wei and Mr. Qiao heard this, they placed the wine jar on the terrace and released their hands at the same time. That kind of cautious look makes people laugh and cry. Senior Su, is this the remaining wine you drank? Can you give me the last sip of wine? It would be a waste for you to leave it here. Mr. Wei looked respectful and his eyes were full of expectation. He and Mr. Qiao had just heard the conversation between Lin Zixuan and others. Senior Su, old man Wei doesn't know how to taste wine at all. This sip of wine in his mouth is a waste of natural resources. Give me this unwanted sip of wine. I will keep it and taste it slowly. Mr. Qiao rubbed his hands, looking impatient. This scene shattered the views of Zhang Wan, Wang Menglu, and others. Is this necessary? Why do Mr. Wei and Mr. Qiao look like two shameless old dogs? Mr. Wei saw the change in everyone's expressions. Girls from the Zhang family, take a deep breath and smell the aroma of wine in the air. Zhang Wan didn't think so, but when she calmed down and took a deep breath, she suddenly felt refreshed, her beautiful eyes lit up and she said, how could this happen? Lin Zixuan, Wang Menglu, and Tang Yuxin also took deep breaths. They had the same reaction as Zhang Wan. Tang Yuxin and Wang Menglu, whose cultivation levels were only at the early stage of innate realm, after smelling the aroma of wine carefully, they even felt that their aura had improved a lot. A series of eyes immediately stayed on Su Yu. Why are you looking at me? Su Yu looked natural. This kind of wine is not the best in his storage ring, so he can only drink it to kill time. Today's Earth really can't be compared with the immortal world. Suyu knew that if he didn't explain it today, even Tang Yuxin would break the casserole and ask for the truth. This wine is special to you. Only monks above the late stage of the sky control realm are qualified to drink it. Low-level monks can only smell the aroma of wine. If they drink it forcefully, their bodies will burst and die. Suyu slowly explained. Seeing that Mr. Wei and others were listening very seriously, he continued, this kind of wine has certain benefits for monks to improve their cultivation. It can also help monks understand the world. Say it. He took out another jar of wine from the storage ring and said, this wine is called Ziwixin. Drink less. Only when you truly enter the realm of creation can you drink one jar at a time. Suyu's storage ring is extraordinary. Compared with ordinary storage rings, the space inside his storage ring is vast. It contains various treasures he has collected in the immortal world for 2,000 years. There are hundreds of thousands of jars of the magical brew that Ziwixin drinks at will. He only took out one jar, purely because he was afraid that these guys would be harmed by drinking too much. After Mr. Wei and Mr. Chiao heard about Ziwixin's effect, they stared at the jar of wine that Suyu took out, swallowing saliva crazily in their throats. If this kind of fairy brew were put up for auction, I'm afraid it would cause a bloody storm. Mr. Wei sighed. Mr. Chiao nodded solemnly, Senior Su, do you really plan to give us this jar of wine? Suyu wanted to laugh. Mr. Wei and Mrs. Chiao were serious. While Lin Zixuan was shocked, she suddenly thought of something. Suyu, you just finished the jar of wine on the terrace. You said that only monks above the late stage of the sky control realm can drink small amounts. Only when you reach the realm of creation can you drink a jar of wine in one go. Your true cultivation is in the realm of creation. Her face was filled with horror. Originally, she determined that Suyu's cultivation was at the early stage of the sky control realm. Now that she learned that Suyu might be a monk in the early stage of creation realm, how could she not be shocked? Suyu opened a jar of drunkenness, you drink first. Except for Tang Yuxin and Wang Menglu, the cultivation bases of everyone else present are above the late stage of Yukong realm. Lin Zixuan saw that Mr. Wei and Mr. Chiao couldn't wait any longer, so she could only go and get a few cups first. She poured a cup for Mr. Chiao and Mr. Wei respectively. Then, she poured herself and Zhangwan another drink. After having a relationship with Suyu, Lin Zixuan's cultivation level continuously broke through from the late stage of the sky control realm to the great perfection of the sky control realm. She saw Mr. Wei and Mr. Chiao smelling the aroma of wine in the cups, and she took a tentative sip. When the wine flowed down her throat and into her stomach, a terrifying energy burst out instantly. Zhangwan on the side also took a sip, her beautiful eyes filled with horror. The two women looked at each other. Suyu was not talking nonsense. This kind of wine can only be drunk by people above the late stage of the sky control realm. The energy contained in it is too terrifying. Before entering the realm of creation, even they can only drink with caution. Zhangwan's current cultivation level is at the peak of the sky control realm. After Lin Zixuan drank the wine, her originally reserved momentum burst out. Zixuan, you actually entered Dzogchen. How did you do it? I met you not long ago, and you are only at the late stage of the sky control realm. I saw you pour yourself a glass of wine just now. I thought you had reached the peak of the sky control realm in the past 2 days. In the end, you made continuous breakthroughs to the great consummation. Zhangwan looked surprised. Lin Zixuan took a sneak peek at Suyu, and the crazy scene from last night reappeared in her mind. Zhangwan caught Lin Zixuan's gaze and asked, is your continuous breakthrough related to Suyu? Lin Zixuan's expression didn't look right. Zhangwan became more and more suspicious that there was definitely something fishy going on. Her charming eyes looked at Suyu, brother, I'm really starting to fall in love with you. You have to be responsible for your sister. Immortal world is back, I am invincible. Author, listen to the wind with your L. Chapter 64. Without waiting for Suyu to speak, Lin Zixuan frowned. Zhongwan, can you please have some face? Suyu has already said that he is not interested in you, so don't ask for trouble. Zhongwan was not angry. Zixuan, why are you so nervous? So what if brother Suyu is not interested in me? As long as I am interested in him. Lin Zixuan was so angry that she gritted her teeth. She definitely didn't want to see Suyu fall in love with Zhongwan. Tang Yuxin and Wang Menglo stood aside in shock. Just now, Dean Lin asked Suyu whether his true cultivation level was in the realm of creation. Suyu didn't answer. This is the default. Suyu turned out to be a strong man in the early stage of creation realm. In this way, based on Suyu's cultivation, he is definitely the strongest person at the top of the pyramid in Linzhou. Those so-called geniuses on the earth ranking and heavenly ranking were nothing compared to Suyu. Menglu, do you think only women like Dean Lin and Vice Dean Zhang can be worthy of Suyu? Tang Yuxin feels a little inferior. Wang Menglu said without hesitation, Xiao Xingxin, what are you thinking about? You and Suyu can be said to be childhood sweethearts. You have an irreplaceable position in Suyu's heart. What you have to do now is practice hard. With Suyu's help, you will grow faster. In the future, you will definitely be able to stand next to Suyu with your head held high and enjoy endless glory with him. Tang Yuxin looked at Zhongwan. The gaze in her beautiful eyes became more and more determined. Now Zhongwan made no secret of her admiration for Suyu. She wanted to make Zhongwan her goal. She wanted to surpass Zhongwan first. Suyu walked over and touched Tang Yuxin's head lovingly. The reason why he chose to acquiesce just now was simply because he didn't want to hurt Tang Yuxin. Take it easy. Uncover his truest side step by step, so that Tang Yuxin can gradually accept it. If the true side is revealed all at once, there may be a sense of distance between him and Tang Yuxin. He finally figured out that certain things should not be rushed. Yuxin, I will help you prepare a medicinal solution in 2 days. After you soak it every night, your cultivation will improve faster. Suyu smiled slightly. Tang Yuxin blushed slightly and nodded, secretly encouraging herself in her heart. After Mr. Wei and Mr. Chiao enjoyed smelling the aroma of the wine for a while, they drank a glass of fairy wine one sip after another. The blood boils all over. The spiritual energy seemed to form a storm within the body. The two of them immediately closed their eyes and sat cross-legged, with the exercises running in their bodies, and their aura rising steadily. A few minutes later, they opened their eyes with extremely excited expressions on their faces. Now, as long as they are willing, they can officially enter the early stage of creation at any time. But they want to be as stable as possible and wait a few days before making a breakthrough in one go. Originally, according to their cultivation speed, they wanted to step from a half step of creation to a true state of creation. At the very least, it will take more than 30 years. Now a glass of wine directly helped them save more than 30 years. These two old men were really excited. Senior Su, thank you for your gift. I can enter the early stage of the creation realm at any time now. Mr. Chiao bowed deeply to Suyu. Mr. Wei also bent down at a 90-degree angle. Senior Su, I really can't repay your kindness to me. From now on, all I need from you is that I am willing to go to the mountains of swords and the sea of fire for you. Suyu waved his hand casually and said, wine is good wine, remember not to drink too much. Since you don't choose to break through to the creation realm immediately, you can stop after having a drink today. Mr. Chiao and Mr. Wei nodded obediently. Lin Zixuan and Zhongwan each took another 2 sips. Spiritual energy surged from heaven and earth, Zhongwan's aura surged, and ripples appeared in the surrounding space. At the same time, there was huge movement on Lin Zixuan's body. Her beautiful eyes condensed, and her body was absorbing spiritual energy like a bottomless pit. 10 minutes later. Everything is calm. Zhongwan broke through from the peak of the sky control realm to the great perfection. Lin Zixuan entered the half-step of creation from the great perfection of the sky control realm. The two of them chose to break through directly. In terms of formation talent, they are not as good as Mr. Wei and Mr. Chiao. But in terms of cultivation talent, they far surpass Mr. Wei and Mr. Chiao. Therefore, they don't need to be so cautious. After the breakthrough in cultivation, it is too late to slowly consolidate again. You two don't drink anymore. That's it for today. Su Yu reminded. Lin Zixuan seemed to be in a dream. After going crazy with Su Yu last night, her cultivation soared from the late stage of the sky control realm to the great perfection. After drinking a few sips of wine today, my cultivation has reached half-step from the great perfection of the sky control realm. She was really in a trance. Zhongwan on the side felt the aura of perfection in the sky control realm on her body. She was very excited, and her eyes towards Su Yu became even more intense. Su Yu didn't want to have too much entanglement with Zhongwan. He turned and left directly. Mr. Wei and Mr. Chiao looked at the jar of wine that had not been drunk much. I will keep this altar of fairy brew, Mr. Wei and Mr. Chiao said in unison. Immediately afterwards, they both reached out and grabbed the wine jar at the same time. Lin Zixuan and others were speechless. Here we go again. These two old men don't stop talking. At the same time, Tianhai Immortal Martial Academy. In front of Su Wu's villa. Yang Hai came through the air and stood in mid-air outside the villa. After confirming that his son Yang Xian was dead, he, as the head of Linzhou, reported the matter to the headquarters. After he asked the headquarters to intervene, he had the confidence to fight against the Tianhai Su family. There were many people following behind him. Most of them are Sea Transformation Realm monks who fly with swords, and they are all members of the Linzhou branch of the Yinbuobu. Brother Yang, you came to Tianhai after a long journey, why didn't you inform me? I might as well fulfill my duty as a landlord. A good-natured laugh came. Yang Hai frowned. The person coming was Su Yan, the head of the Tianhai branch of the Hidden Department. His other identity is Su Wu's uncle. Su Yan is the eldest among his peers in the Su family, Su Yu's father is the second eldest in the Su family, and Su Wu's father is the third eldest in the Su family. Su Wu's father was able to take the position of head of the Tianhai Su family simply because Su Yan did not want to compete. The Yinbu Tianhai branch is much more powerful than the Yinbu Linzhou branch. Su Yan's cultivation has already surpassed the sky control realm, and he is simply not something Yang Hai can deal with. Brother Su, your nephew Su Wu sent his servant Meng He to Linzhou. Now the manor of the Su family branch in Linzhou has turned into ashes. My son Yang Xian definitely died in the Su family branch. This matter must be related to Meng He. I'm here today to ask clearly. Su Wu must give me an explanation. Yang Hai said coldly. He determined that the destruction of the Su family branch in Linzhou was caused by Meng Lao. Su Yan's expression remained unchanged. Brother Yang, the headquarters has already told me about your matter. I'm here to help you complete this. Yang Hai had a backer in the headquarters. He snorted coldly, it's best that this is the case. Say it. He looked down at the villa below and shouted, Su Wu, why don't you come out and plead guilty? Immortal world is back, I am invincible. Author, listen to the wind with your L. Chapter 65. Yang Hai's roar attracted the attention of many people. This is the accommodation area for Tianhai Immortal Martial Academy geniuses. Many geniuses in the academy walked out of their villas and looked in the direction of Su Wu's villa with doubtful eyes. A few minutes later, Su Wu walked out of the villa with a proud face, and his cold eyes stayed on Yang Hai. Then, he looked at Su Yan and shouted, Uncle. Yang Hai naturally did not have the guts to kill Su Wu on the spot. Now he just wants to get more benefits from the Tian Hai Su family, and his son must not die in vain. I am Yang Hai, the head of the Linzhou branch of the Yinbu. Meng He went on a killing spree in Linzhou and wiped out the entire Su family. My son Yang Xian was present at the time. He must have died in Meng He's hands. Yang Hai looked down at Su Wu and narrowed his eyes slightly. Meng He is your slave, you won't deny this, right? You sent him to Linzhou this time. Where is he now? Hand him over quickly. The words fell. Yang Hai's face was full of anger, and the terrifying momentum moved towards Su Wu. Su Wu snorted coldly when faced with Yang Hai's aura in the middle stage of the air control realm. A shake of the shoulders. He shattered Yang Hai's momentum. As expected of the person trained by the Tian Hai Su family, you are indeed quite capable. Yang Hai said coldly. Su Yan spoke, Su Wu, the Secret Service has intervened in this matter. Did Meng He really go on a killing spree in Linzhou? Su Wu was very respectful to Su Yan. Uncle, I just tried to contact Mr. Meng, but Mr. Meng's mobile phone couldn't get through at all. I suspect something happened to him. Yang Hai mocked, Meng He has a cultivation level in the middle stage of the sky control realm. You just asked him to go to Linzhou to deal with Su Yu. Do you think Su Yu will be Meng He's opponent? According to my understanding, Su Yu is at most the early stage of Sea transformation realm. Su Yu went to the branch of the Su family alone today. If Meng He hadn't gone on a killing spree, why would the entire manor of the branch of the Su family be reduced to ashes? Give me an explanation. It must be Meng He who discovered the incredible opportunity in Su Yu, and he wants to bring it back for you to enjoy exclusively. Is there anything else you want to say now? Su Wu's expression turned grim. Before this, he only knew that Su Yu's cultivation was within the innate realm. Now that he learned that Su Yu had the early stage of Sea transformation realm cultivation, a cold light flashed in his eyes. Disappeared for 2 years. From a half-dead cripple, he became a monk in the early stages of the Sea transformation realm. This is really scary. Yang Hai, if it weren't for my uncle's sake, I really don't want to be verbose with you. You dare to question me like this, just a person in charge of a hidden department in Linzhou. You are looking for death. Su Wu guessed that Mr. Meng had encountered something unexpected. He clenched his hands into fists, and veins popped up on the backs of his hands. He didn't like the feeling that things were beyond his control. Yang Hai shouted coldly, Su Wu, don't think that because you are the eldest son of the Tian Hai Su family, I don't dare to do anything to you. You are despising our hidden tribe. However, he just finished speaking. Su Wu's figure soared into the sky. He used the energy of the immortal bones in his body, and his speed and other aspects increased dramatically. After Yang Hai sensed that Su Wu was in the early stage of the sky control realm just now, he didn't take Su Wu seriously. He steadily suppressed Su Wu in terms of cultivation level, and he was confident in his own combat power. He must not show his timidity in front of a young master from a big family. As a result, facing Su Wu's terrifying speed, Yang Hai only felt a blur in front of his eyes when he wanted to dodge. A cold hand had already grasped his throat. Yang Hai looked at Su Wu, who appeared in front of him, swallowing hard in his throat. Obviously his cultivation level is higher than that of Su Wu, but he is so vulnerable in front of Su Wu. Beads of sweat the size of peas appeared on Yang Hai's forehead. Su Wu, who possesses immortal bones, is really a demonic genius that makes people's hearts tremble. Yang Hai, don't test my patience. Do you believe it or not, even if I kill you, Umbu will not let me pay for my life in the end. Our Su family will have to pay some price at most. Su Wu said indifferently. Yang Hai felt a stinging pain in his throat, and he did not dare to move for fear of angering Su Wu. When the time comes, he will really die. Su Wu, don't be rude. Brother Yang is too sad. He just talked nonsense to you just now. Su Yan stood up and said. Su Wu then retracted his right palm and said, the chance that Mr. Meng is still alive is not high. I guess the fact that the Su family's subsidiary manor was reduced to ashes is most likely related to Su Yu. Is there any strong person around Su Yu? Now we have to determine one thing. Is Su Yu still in Linzhou? Yang Hai was afraid of Su Wu. He felt that Su Wu was not lying. Was it his misconception from the beginning? In Linzhou, the only person who is capable and willing to help Su Yu is Lin Zixuan. But I deliberately lured Lin Zixuan away today. It is impossible for her to appear in the Su family branch. Yang Hai said firmly. Su Wu fell into thinking and said to himself, "Cousin, what are you playing? Things seem to be getting more and more interesting. The more you struggle, the last time I slap you to death will you be able to feel the pleasure." He looked at Yang Hai indifferently. Lin Zixuan has an unusual background. What if she has someone secretly protect Su Yu? I have to figure out Su Yu's situation now. While talking, he made a phone call and went out. "Help me investigate and see if anyone from our college is in Linzhou at the moment." Finished the phone call. Su Wu suddenly stabbed out with his right hand. His right palm pierced Yang Hai's stomach. When he pulled out, blood spurted out from Yang Hai's belly. "Before you come to investigate next time, you'd better clarify the situation for me." Su Wu's figure fell towards the bottom. Yang Hai dared not speak out in anger, and the severe pain in his stomach made his whole face become very ferocious. Su Yan watched everything in front of him coldly, looking at Yang Hai with a kind of disdain. Not long after, Su Wu's cell phone rang. After pressing the answer button, a respectful voice came into his ears. "Young Master Su, Vice President Zhang Wan seems to be in Linzhou at the moment." A smile appeared on the corner of Su Wu's mouth. Zhang Wan is one of the women he likes. Regarding the fact that Zhang Wan and Lin Zixuan are best friends, few outsiders know. Naturally, Su Wu didn't know. He thought Zhang Wan was going to Linzhou to do something. As the evil genius of Tianhai Immortal Martial Academy, he has Zhang Wan's number on his mobile phone. After dialing, Zhang Wan's voice came. "Su Wu, what do you want from me?" Su Wu replied, "Vice President Zhang, I heard that you are in Linzhou. Please help me investigate a person named Su Yu. Afterwards, our Su family will definitely reward you heavily." You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Immortal World is back. I am Invincible. Author, listen to the wind with your L. Chapter 66. The Zhang family, where Zhang Wan belongs, is one of the apex-level wealthy families in Tianhai. The Su family and the Zhang family have many areas of cooperation in business. Su Wu felt that with the friendship between the Su family and the Zhang family, it would be no problem for Zhang Wan to help investigate a person. He sent Su Yu's information to Zhang Wan through his mobile phone. The information is accompanied by a photo of Su Yu. "Vice President Zhang, I have sent you Su Yu's information. He is an abandoned son of our Tianhai Su family. He often ruins our family's reputation outside. This time I will capture him and bring him back to Tianhai." Su Wu poured dirty water on Su Yu randomly. Zhang Wan on the other end of the phone fell silent. Su Wu waited patiently. Zhang Wan might be looking at Su Yu's information. After a while, Su Wu's only answer was "Go away." Afterwards, Zhang Wan hung up the phone. Su Wu's face was filled with anger, and his eyes were full of doubts. How is this going? He hasn't provoked Zhang Wan recently. Why is Zhang Wan so rude? Does the problem lie with Su Yu? Su Wu said to himself. Immediately afterwards, he shook his head again. It was impossible for Su Yu to have an intersection with Zhang Wan. Su Yan landed next to Su Wu from mid-air. Yang Hai, who looked ugly, covered the wound on his stomach and slowly fell to the ground. He suppressed his anger towards Su Wu. Su Wu, who possesses immortal bones, is more terrifying than he imagined. Suwu will definitely be able to reach the top of Xia Kingdom in the future. He must not be an enemy of Suwu. Besides, Yang Xian's death seems to have nothing to do with Suwu. Yang Hai adjusted his mentality and bowed to Suwu to apologize. Young Master Su, I was reckless just now. Please forgive me. Suwu had no intention of chatting with Yang Hai, he just nodded casually. Su Yan asked, Zhangwan is not willing to help. Suwu replied, she just told me to get out. Has our Su family offended Zhangwan in any way recently? Logically speaking, given the relationship between our Su family and Zhang family, Zhangwan would not have this attitude toward me. Su Yan also felt strange, and said, please investigate the recent business cooperation between the Su family and the Zhang family. Just as Suwu was about to respond, he received a call from his father. After getting through, Suwu's face became even more ugly when he learned that the Zhang family was going to terminate all cooperation with the Su family. After chatting with his father for a few words on the phone, Suwu ended the call and said to Su Yan, Uncle, the Zhang family has terminated all cooperation with our Su family. The Zhang family did not explain the specific reasons. Su Yan frowned and said, there are many doubts about this matter. Your father will take care of the matters within the family. You resolve Su Yu's matters first. Our branch of the Su family has been wiped out, and Meng He beside you is missing. All these points are pointed at Su Yu. As long as Su Yu is captured, everything will be revealed. Su Wu said coldly, my cousin has been missing for 2 years, but he has become more capable. Does he think that with some cultivation and Lin Zixuan as his backer, he will be safe? I will let him know that no matter how long it takes, he will always be stepped on by me. Say it. He looked at Yang Hai, go and investigate first to see if Su Yu is still in Linzhou. When the time comes, I will send someone to help you take him down. Yang Hai seemed to have become Su Wu's subordinate. But he did not dare to show dissatisfaction anymore. Young Master Su, I will definitely handle this matter. I'll go back to Linzhou first. The words fell. He jumped into the air and rushed back towards Linzhou. Those members of the Linzhou branch of the Yinbu followed Yang Hai away in the sky. Su Wu said calmly, a dog from the Yinbu tribe dares to attack me and accuse me. He is out of his mind. If it weren't for the fact that he was still somewhat useful, I wouldn't have let him leave the opening heaven alive. Su Yan agreed very much with Su Wu's words. Linzhou is a small city among all the branches of Xia Kingdom. The Yinbu branch in Linzhou can almost be said to be the weakest. Should I go to Linzhou to capture Su Yu? Su Yan said. Su Wu shook his head and said, Uncle, this reptile Su Yu is not worth your while. We will let him struggle for a while now. He thinks he has seen hope, and then we will dash his hope. That's what makes it fun. In the future, the Tianhai Su family will need to rely on Su Wu to support them. The old man has spoken a long time ago, and now everything in the Su family today is centered on Su Wu. After Su Yan heard what Su Wu said, he stopped talking. Uncle, I guess Su Yu wants to take back his immortal bones. He must have had some opportunities in the past 2 years. Does a person like him deserve to have an immortal bone? This immortal bone was supposed to grow in my body. It's God who has no eyesight that allowed Su Yu to possess the immortal bone. Back then, my parents just helped me get back things that originally belonged to me. Su Wu said coldly. Before Su Yu was 5 years old, his immortal bones were not taken away. Su Yan was very kind to Su Yu. At that time, the Su family regarded Su Yu as their hope for the future. However, when Su Yu's immortal bones were transplanted into Su Wu's body, Su Yu lost all his light. Once the immortal bone is transplanted into another person's body, it is more difficult to transplant it back to the original owner than to reach the sky. The Su family made mistakes and regarded Su Wu as their hope from then on. In order to make Su Wu feel at ease, the entire Su family began to regard Su Yu as a dog. Su Yan has been restless recently, always feeling that something bad is going to happen. He muttered to himself, I hope it's my illusion. At the same time, Linzhou. Lin Zixuan's villa. In the pavilion in the front yard. Zhang Wan called her family one after another with a frosty face. It was she who insisted that the Zhang family immediately cut off all cooperation with the Su family. After reading Su Yu's information, she didn't expect that Su Yu was the abandoned son of the Tianhai Su family. Lin Zixuan looked at the angry Zhang Wan and asked, is the Tianhai Su family going to deal with Su Yu? Zhang Wan knew that the abandoned son of the Su family had his immortal bones pulled out by his clan members. She said coldly, the Tianhai Su family is really a bunch of people with pig brains. They have no idea how much potential Su Yu has. Now Su Yu is only 21 years old, and he has become a 7-star array mage, and he is also the strongest 1-star alchemist on earth. My cultivation level is incredible and I have entered the realm of creation. Such a genius can no longer be described as a monster. If the Su family can treat Su Yu well, the Su family will definitely become one of the world's largest families in the future. After taking a deep breath, she continued, but not only do the Su family not know how to cherish such a genius, they actually want to kill Su Yu. They're really out of their minds. Su Wu is not as good as a hair on Su Yu's face in front of Su Yu. I found that I really like Su Yu. Lin Zixuan frowned slightly. Zhang Wan, are you serious? Immortal world is back, I am invincible. Author, listen to the wind with your L. Chapter 67. A breeze blew. Zhang Wan's hair was blowing in the wind. She pursed her red lips lightly and was about to answer. Suddenly, the heaven and earth trembled. A terrifying tearing force formed in the sky. Zhang Wan raised her head and looked into the sky. Mr. Wei and Mr. Chiao rushed out of the villa, their faces full of worry. Is it possible that a space crack is about to appear? Lin Zixuan blurted out. Zhang Wan frowned. In the past, when space cracks appeared, there would be signs one day in advance. Why did it happen so suddenly this time? The space crack that is about to appear in Linzhou is currently the 4th space crack in Xia. Mr. Wei took a deep breath. The situation is very bad now. We cannot determine the specific location where the space crack appears. Can we just watch helplessly as the entire Linzhou is devastated? The heaven and earth shook more and more violently. Tang Yuxin and Wang Mengla walked out of the villa with puzzled faces. When they learned from Lin Zixuan that space cracks might appear soon, they fell into endless worry. They had just been to Su Yu's room and saw Su Yu closing his eyes tightly and sitting motionless on the bed. They thought that Su Yu had entered into full-body cultivation. You must not disturb Su Yu at this time. So, they came out first to see what was going on. A loud boom sound suddenly came from the sky. Bang, bang, bang. Pieces of glass on the windows of the villa burst one after another. A cold wind blew around. Su Yu sat on the bed in the room and still didn't move. When he left Immortal World, he left a trace of spiritual power in Immortal World. There was a slight tingling sensation in his head just now, as if something had happened to the power of his divine mind. He was trying to get in touch with the power of divine thought. It was a critical moment now and he couldn't be distracted. Right now, cracks are appearing on the floor of the villa. After a few minutes, I saw a huge hole appear in the sky above Linzhou Immortal Martial Academy with a boo sound. The villa is not far from the college. Lin Zixuan and Mr. Wei could clearly see the opening. A space crack has appeared. The 4th space crack in Xia's country actually appeared in the sky above Linzhou Immortal Martial Academy. No, I have to rush back to the academy right away. Lin Zixuan didn't talk nonsense anymore. The half-step aura of her body soared, and she jumped into the air and flew towards the academy at high speed. Zhang Wan shouted, Zixuan, wait for me. She followed closely behind. Mr. Wei and Mr. Chiao looked at each other. Their auras surged and they also rushed towards Linzhou Immortal Martial Academy. Tang Yuxin looked at Wang Menglu. After Suyu breaks away from the cultivation state later, with his cultivation level, he will definitely be able to find something wrong in the academy. Let's take the first step. We are students of Linzhou Immortal Martial Academy. We must not watch the academy be destroyed by the aliens in the space rift. I want to do my part. Wang Menglu nodded in agreement with Tang Yuxin's proposal. After the two of them walked out of the villa, they ran towards the college. Now on the road, people everywhere are panicked. When Tang Yuxin and Wang Menglu rushed to Linzhou Immortal Martial Academy, I saw a huge dragon head drilled out of the space crack high in the sky. This faucet appears black. Immediately afterwards, a giant black dragon slowly emerged from the crack in space. This giant dragon is about 200 meters long, and its scales are glowing with a cold black light. A terrifying coercive force burst out from it, quickly attacking downwards. All the monks in the academy who had not surpassed the sky control realm knelt on the ground one after another. Under such terrifying pressure, they could not stand at all. Tang Yuxin and Wang Menglu gritted their teeth tightly when their knees were bending. Lin Zixuan and Mr. Wei appeared in time and helped Tang Yuxin and Wang Menglu resist most of the pressure. Among the four of them, Lin Zixuan, three of them have all reached half-step creation, and only Zhongwan is in the great perfection of the sky control realm. But Zhongwan's combat power is extremely impressive, and she is no weaker than an ordinary half-step creation monk. She can resist the pressure of the black dragon on her own. Wang Menglu swallowed. Dean Lin, a black dragon came out of the crack in space. Lin Zixuan clenched her hands into fists. She nodded and said, "This giant dragon definitely comes from a different world and is from the same place as those aliens." When she finished speaking, the giant black dragon high in the sky spoke human words, "Insignificant ants. You are all the food on my plate, I will swallow your whole city." The black dragon's huge green eyes looked down at every move in the academy below, and the coercive power emanating from it became even more terrifying. Puff puff. Most of the people in the academy were vomiting blood. Lin Zixuan and Mr. Wei were resisting forcefully. In order to prevent Tang Yuxin and Wang Menglu behind them from being injured, they exploded with extreme strength. But after all, it was no match for the pressure of the black dragon. There was a pop sound. Zhongwan was the first to vomit blood. Then, Lin Zixuan, Mr. Wei, and Mr. Qiao each spit out a mouthful of blood. This black dragon in the sky is really too powerful. Its cultivation level is definitely far beyond the realm of creation. Now how to do? Lin Zixuan gritted her teeth tightly and said to herself, "Do we just have to wait to die?" Facing a sudden crisis, no one in Linzhou can resolve it. The black dragon's eyes revealed disdain and contempt. "It's your honor to be my meal." It opened its huge mouth, ready to swallow every human life. A cold voice suddenly sounded in its mind, "It's just a little bug, but it dares to come to the earth and run wild. You are really asking for death." The black dragon's body paused, and its eyes scanned the surroundings, finally looking in the direction of Lin Zixuan's villa. Its eyesight was extremely amazing, and it could clearly see a young man with an indifferent face standing in the window of a room on the second floor of the villa. What it saw was naturally Suyu. The voice that just sounded in its head also came from Suyu. Lin Zixuan and Mr. Wei below did not know the current situation. They are now in deep despair. If there is no accident, no miracle will happen today, and they will all become the food of this black dragon. Suyu had no intention of rushing to Linzhou Immortal Martial Academy. He had just finished his business, but unexpectedly, an extremely arrogant black dragon appeared outside. An impatient look appeared on his face. He turned his right palm over and took out a blue sword from the storage ring. "Little bug, the earth is not the place you should come to. Say it." The long sword in Suyu's hand turned into a blue light and shot through the air towards the black dragon at an extremely fast speed. Even a strong person in the creation realm cannot catch the shadow of the blue sword with his naked eyes. Immortal world is back, I am invincible. Author, listen to the wind with your L. Chapter 68. Just now when the black dragon appeared. The relevant departments in Linzhou reported the matter to the senior officials of Xia State. Once upon a time, a dark green dragon appeared in the second space rift of Xia Kingdom. At that time, the powerful men above the Xia Kingdom's sky control realm suffered numerous casualties, but they only managed to force the dark green dragon back into the space crack. In order not to cause panic among the people, the matter was concealed. Mr. Wei happens to be an insider, and now he has told the story about the dark green dragon. After Mr. Chiao heard this, he said with a bitter look on his face, "It seems that people in Leizhou are really going to be in ruins. Old man Wei, this will be our burial place." Lin Zixuan and Zhang Wan felt increasingly stuffy in their bodies. Feeling the terrifying pressure of the black dragon, they looked at the sky unwillingly. Is it really over? The entire academy fell into a kind of silence before destruction. Tang Yuxin wanted to move. Even if she died, she would die in Su Yu's arms. She didn't expect that such a terrifying black dragon would appear just after the spatial rift in Linzhou was formed. No matter how hard she tries, she couldn't move her feet. Wang Mengluo seemed to have accepted the reality. She closed her eyes and waited for death to come. The black dragon in the sky flicked its tail. The space collapsed. It saw a flash of blue light approaching at great speed. Because its attention was focused on Su Yu, it could even hear what Su Yu said clearly. "Damn ants! How dare you be so arrogant in front of me? I want to turn this city into a living hell." The black dragon roared angrily. The blue sword cut through the sky and approached instantly. At first, the black dragon's eyes were full of coldness and arrogance, but when the blue sword approached its head, it suddenly panicked. Just because from the ordinary long sword, a piercing force that destroyed the world suddenly burst out. After the black dragon was enveloped by such piercing power, its body was unable to move. Why are there such powerful people in this lower world? No, I don't wait for it to ask for mercy. Sound. The blue sword easily penetrated the black dragon's head, and its terrifying sharpness instantly shattered its brain. Tang Yuxin looked at the sky, her beautiful eyes full of disbelief. "Mengluo, look." Wang Mengluo, who was waiting to die, opened her eyes in confusion. When she saw the black dragon in the sky with a sword piercing its head, she opened her mouth wide and blinked hard. She couldn't believe that the scene in front of her was real. Who in Linzhou can kill a dragon with one sword? Lin Zixuan and Zhang Wan gasped. After they looked at each other, their tense bodies relaxed a little. Su Yu, who was in the villa, stared in the direction of the college calmly, "Turn into ashes." After he finished speaking, a monstrous blue flame burst out from the blue sword. Just a blink of an eye, the black dragon was burned to ashes. This sword is called Fenshin. The blue flame in the sword body can burn everything in the world. After Mr. Chiao saw the black dragon turned into ashes, his body was shaking, and the look of horror on his face could not go away for a long time. The sword that penetrated the black dragon's head just now was extremely terrifying. And the flames gushing out from the blue sword, even though they were so far apart, still made his heart tremble. He was sure that if his body came into contact with the blue flames, it would be burned to ashes in an instant. Mr. Wei next to him swallowed saliva hard in his throat. This black dragon is definitely no weaker than the dark green dragon that once appeared in Xia Kingdom. When the Xia Kingdom gathered countless strong men, they only managed to push back the dark green dragon. Now in Linzhou, someone actually managed to slay a dragon with one sword. Who was responsible for slaying the dragon? After Mr. Wei took a deep breath for a while, he managed to calm down a little. "Girl of the Lin family, now is not the time to let down your guard. There will be aliens appearing in the space cracks at any time, we must be prepared. When Lin Zixuan nodded, the blue sword suspended in the sky moved, accompanied by the sound of breaking the air. The blue long sword pierced into the space crack, and the blue flames erupted from the sword body, blocking the entire space crack. The blue flames seemed to form a wall of fire. Originally, Suyu wanted to forcefully close the space cracks and restore the sky above Linzhou Immortal Martial Academy to normal. But he soon discovered that this space crack was very unusual. If he tries to forcefully close the cracks, it will definitely cause the sky to collapse. Then the whole Earth will be destroyed. In this case, Suyu could only temporarily let the burning sky sword seal the space crack. Mr. Wei and others could not have guessed that this series of things was all done by Suyu. After seeing the sudden changes in the sky, Lin Zixuan said in surprise, "The space crack is just blocked like this. Now only the hilt of the burning sky sword can be seen remaining outside the space crack." The entire sword body sank into the space crack. Mr. Wei nodded in a daze. The scene in front of him really made him unbelievable. The space cracks can actually be blocked. With this extremely terrifying blue wall of fire, the chance of the aliens breaking out is almost zero. Was the crisis in Linzhou resolved in this way? After Wei Lao calmed down for a while, he said, "The person who did this secretly has extremely terrifying cultivation. He may even be the strongest person on Earth right now." Lin Zixuan concentrated her spiritual energy on her throat. "The crisis in Linzhou has been temporarily resolved. But we can't take it lightly, we must be ready to fight at any time." Her voice spread to every corner of the academy. Immediately afterwards, cheers that reached into the sky rang out in the academy. Zhang Wan jumped into the air and said, "Zixuan, I feel that the sword intent emanating from that sword is very special. If we get closer to sense it, it will be of great help to us in understanding the way of the sword." With her cultivation, when you are 100 meters away from the burning sky sword, you can no longer get closer. She narrowed her eyes slightly and faintly saw 3 words engraved on the hilt of the sword. "Gather the spiritual energy in your eyes." Her vision improved rapidly, and she muttered, "Suchang Sheng. Is this the owner of this sword?" Zhang Wan lowered her head and shouted to the people below, "I know the name of the person who secretly acted." Upon hearing this, Mr. Wei, Mr. Chiao and Lin Zixuan jumped into the air and came to Zhang Wan's side. "Look at the hilt of the sword. That should be the name of the person who took action." Zhang Wan's tone was slightly excited. Mr. Wei and the others looked at the hilt of the sword and saw the name Suchang Sheng. They had the same guess as Zhang Wan, Suchang Sheng must be the owner of this sword. Suchang Sheng is the name Suyu changed for himself when he was in Immortal World. At that time, he wanted to get rid of the past and start over in the Immortal World. However, the name can be changed, but what happened in the past can never be erased. In the end, he returned to Earth at all costs. Mr. Wei took a deep breath. From today on, the name Suchang Sheng will be heard all over the world. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Immortal World is back, I am invincible. Author, listen to the wind with your L. Chapter 69. Evening. The setting sun is like blood. More and more people gathered in Linzhou Immortal Martial Academy. Just a few hours. Linzhou has become the focus of global attention. The story about the mysterious strongman Suchang Sheng slaying a dragon with one sword has spread around the world. Many foreign netizens are skeptical about this matter, and they want to come to Xia country to find out. After all, the mysterious strongman not only slaughtered the dragon, but also sealed the space crack that had just appeared with one sword. This makes many people think it is a fantasy and seems extremely unreal. Anyway, no matter what, the name Suchang Sheng is destined to be covered with a layer of mystery from today on. In the air above Linzhou Immortal Martial Academy, Lin Zixuan, Mr. Wei, and others stood 100 meters away from the burning sky sword. They are comprehending the mysterious sword intent revealed in the burning sky sword. Lin Zixuan had just reported what happened here to the senior officials of Xia State. Zhang Wan, Mr. Wei, and Mr. Chiao also contacted the top management of Xia State and reported everything they saw. With the reports of these four people, the senior officials of the Xia Kingdom no longer have any doubts about the one-sword dragon slaying incident in Linzhou. The headquarters of the imperial capital's hidden division has sent strong men to Linzhou. At the same time, strong men from all over the Xia Kingdom were rushing to Linzhou, and they wanted to see the dragon-slaying sword. Most of the people gathered in the academy now are local monks in Linzhou. The monks who had the ability to step into the air tried their best to get closer to the burning sky sword. The monks with low cultivation level were sitting cross-legged on the ground. They all want to understand the mysterious sword intent of burning sky sword. Yang Hai, the head of the Linzhou branch of the Yinbu, learned about the space cracks and the appearance of the black dragon on his way back to Linzhou. He immediately gave up the idea of returning to Linzhou. Although the Yinbu has the responsibility to protect the people, Yang Hai is greedy for life and afraid of death. He does not want to return to Linzhou and die in vain. Originally, he was planning to go directly to the imperial capital. However, not long after, news came that the mysterious strongman Su Changsheng had killed a dragon with one sword. After confirming the authenticity of the matter, he turned around and rushed back to Linzhou. Dean Lin, you are a witness to this matter. Tell me in detail what you saw. Yang Hai walked over to Lin Zixuan. He looked at the crack in space sealed by the burning sky sword, his face filled with horror. Now he was 100 meters away from the burning sky sword, but his body could no longer bear the breath of the burning sky sword. That mysterious strong man Su Changsheng is indeed terrifying. Lin Zixuan ignored Yang Hai, with a cold expression on her face. This morning, Yang Hai used the matter of space cracks to trick her into going to the academy. Later, when she learned that the tiger was being transferred away from the mountain, she rushed back to the villa as soon as possible. Seeing that Suyu was fine, she originally thought that Yang Hai and others had not had time to take action against Suyu. But when she learned about the destruction of the Su family branch, she was sure that Suyu went to the Su family branch after she left the villa. This should be Yang Hai's conspiracy. But these people never expected that Suyu was a strong man in the early stage of the creation realm. It is simply easy to destroy the branches of the Su family with the cultivation of the creation realm. When Yang Hai saw that Lin Zixuan didn't speak, he said coldly, Dean Lin, please pay attention to your attitude. I am asking you now as the head of the Linzhou branch of the Yinbu. You must answer my questions truthfully. After a pause, he said, Dean Lin, I have one more thing to ask you. Where is Suyu now? I advise you not to hide it. Now Suyu is a criminal that the Yinbu wants to arrest. I suspect that he is related to the murder of a branch of the Su family. If I find out that Dean Lin is also involved in this matter, then don't blame me for being rude. Lin Zixuan frowned, her half-step aura burst out, and she waved her right arm, get out. A terrifying force suddenly hit Yang Hai. Puff, puff, puff. Balls of blood mist exploded on Yang Hai. His body fell towards the ground, and blood continued to spit out from his mouth. Bang! Yang Hai's body made a deep pit on the ground. The air was filled with dust. The eyes around him were all focused in an instant. As the head of the Linzhou branch of the Yinbu, many monks present recognized Yang Hai. Seeing Lin Zixuan directly attack Yang Hai after a disagreement, the monks around him held their breath at the same time. The person in charge of the Linzhou branch of the Yinbu was so vulnerable to Lin Zixuan. The dust gradually dispersed. Yang Hai, dripping with blood all over his body, climbed out of the pit staggeringly. His face was filled with monstrous anger. Lin Zixuan, you are simply arrogant. I represent Umbu. You are despising Umbu. Do you know what the consequences will be if you offend Umbu? At the moment he is trying to stay calm. He knew that Lin Zixuan's cultivation was at the late stage of the sky control realm. Why did she suddenly become a half-step master? He was horrified inside. Lin Zixuan said coldly, as the person in charge of the Yin department in Linzhou, where were you when the space crack appeared? Where were you when the black dragon appeared? Why didn't you show up until now? In the final analysis, you are just a waste who is greedy for life and afraid of death. What qualifications do you have to speak to me? Yang Hai was speechless after being questioned, and the blue veins on his forehead were beating. There was a lot of discussion around. Everyone is talking about Yang Hai? They were obviously siding with Lin Zixuan. At this time, Su Yu came outside the college. Tang Yuxin and Wang Menglu greeted him immediately. Su Yu, you have finally finished practicing. You missed a big scene. Just a few hours ago, a space crack appeared over the academy. There is a mysterious strong man who slayed the dragon with one sword and sealed the space rift. Wang Menglu said excitedly. Tang Yuxin next to her was about to speak. Yang Hai came over and said first, Su Yu, come with me. I want to know something from you. Then, he looked at Lin Zixuan in the sky, if you dare to protect this kid again, even your family will not be able to protect you. I must take him away today. While talking, he endured the pain in his body, raised his aura to the middle stage of the sky control realm again, and stretched out his hand to grab Su Yu's shoulders. Originally, both Lin Zixuan and Zhang Wan wanted to take action. As a result, Mr. Wei and Mr. Chiao spoke in a low voice. They wanted to show off in front of Su Yu and asked Lin Zixuan and Zhang Wan to leave this opportunity to them. After all, they still want to worship Su Yu as their teacher. Yang Hai's perception was focused on Lin Zixuan. He stretched out his hand not too fast. He was wary of Lin Zixuan. Sensing that Lin Zixuan was silent, a sneer appeared on the corner of his mouth. He felt that Lin Zixuan was shocked by his words. When he was elated, there were two half-step creation auras rushing down in the sky. Mr. Wei roared angrily, you are a bitch who is using the hidden fox to pretend to be a tiger. I think you think your life is too long. Mr. Chiao followed closely and shouted, the crisis in Linzhou has just been lifted. Why are you barking here? After Yang Hai was locked by the momentum of Mr. Wei and Mr. Chiao, his body could no longer move. In his confused and frightened eyes, I saw Mr. Wei grabbing one of his left arms, and Mr. Chiao grabbing one of his right arms. The two of them pulled hard at the same time. Ah! In a painful scream, Yang Hai's two arms were torn off by Mr. Wei and Mr. Chiao. Blood spurts. Su Yu said lightly, it's boring. Immortal world is back, I am invincible. Author, listen to the wind with your L. Chapter 70. There was silence between heaven and earth. Mr. Wei and Mr. Chiao casually dropped Yang Hai's arm on the ground. When people around him saw this scene, they couldn't calm down for a long time. Mr. Wei and Mr. Chiao are well known in Xia. They have appeared on TV news. These two are genuine formation masters. But they actually tore off Yang Hai's two arms for a little boy? Didn't they consider the consequences of doing so? Tang Yuxin and Wang Menglu, standing next to Su Yu, had a matter-of-fact expression on their faces. Facing the bloody scene in front of them, they felt that Yang Hai deserved it. Su Yu is a 7-star formation mage. Mr. Wei and Mr. Chiao will naturally take this opportunity to flatter him. Mr. Su, are you not frightened? Mr. Wei walked over respectfully and asked. Mr. Chiao had a flattering smile on his face, Mr. Su, there are too many annoying flies in this world. It's up to Mr. Wei and I to help you swat these dirty flies to death. This way you won't get your hands dirty. In public, they did not call Su Yu Senior Su. He called Mr. Su as quietly as possible. But what they thought was low-key has already caused huge waves in the hearts of people around them. These people were so shocked that they almost choked on their own saliva, and many of them coughed violently. Mr. Wei and Mr. Chiao, two formation masters, actually called a young boy Mr. Su. What is the origin of this boy? Previously, Su Yu stepped onto the 7th floor of the 7-colored Immortal Tower in the Academy Square, and a series of other things happened. It was not spread. Lin Zixuan ordered everyone present to keep it secret. But there is no airtight wall in the world, especially after the Imperial Capital Immortal Martial Academy put Su Yu on the must-kill list. The name Su Yu gradually appeared in the public eye. Right now, there were whispers all around. The news that Su Yu ascended to the 7th floor of the 7-color Immortal Tower and that he had the qualifications of an immortal spread among the people. Could it be that Mr. Wei and Mr. Chiao are cherishing talents? Having the talent of an immortal is no joke. When everyone kept guessing in their minds, Mr. Wei and Mr. Chiao fixed their eyes on Yang Hai. Their eyes were cold and their faces were full of anger. Bitch, why don't you kneel down and apologize to Mr. Su? If you don't get Mr. Su's forgiveness today, your life will stay here. Mr. Wei's withered hands clenched into fists. The aura of half-step creation surrounded him. Mr. Chiao looked at Yang Hai, who was clenching his teeth and not speaking. His figure flashed, and after approaching, he slapped Yang Hai's mouth with his withered right palm. There was a pop sound. Yang Hai couldn't hide at all. His mouth was dripping with blood and several teeth flew out. Bitch, what are you using your mouth for? How did someone like you become the head of the Linzhou branch of the Shangyin department? Kneel down. While talking, Chiao Lao pressed his palm on Yang Hai's shoulder, and terrifying power burst out from his palm. Plop sound. Yang Hai knelt down in frustration, and the ground beneath his knees shattered. Seeing that Su Yu always had an indifferent expression, Yang Hai couldn't bear it anymore. Why should he kneel down to an abandoned son of the Su family? Is there still justice in this world? Senior Su Changsheng, please make the decision for me. I am Yang Hai, the person in charge of the Linzhou branch of the Yinbu. They use their power to bully others and don't treat me as a human being. I beg you to show up and seek justice for me. Yang Hai, who was kneeling on the ground, looked up to the sky and roared. As soon as these words came out, Mr. Wei and Mr. Chiao paused. They were afraid that the mysterious and powerful Su Changsheng would really be persuaded by Yang Hai. Zhangwan and Lin Zixuan, who were high in the sky, narrowed their eyes slightly as they sensed the movement around them. Tang Yuxin and Wang Menglow's bodies were slightly tense. Only Su Yu looked weird. Is Yang Hai begging him to come out and seek justice? A few minutes later, when Mr. Wei and Mr. Chiao saw no one responded, they were sure that Senior Su Changsheng would not take action. For a despicable person like you, you still want to ask Senior Su Changsheng to take action for you. Is there something wrong with your brain? Since you don't want to apologize to Mr. Su, then you will die here today. Say it. Mr. Wei took one step forward. Yang Hai, who had lost both arms, wanted to stand up from the ground to escape. However, it was already too late. Mr. Wei kicked Yang Hai in the chest. Click, click, click. The sound of fine bones breaking was heard. Yang Hai fell to the ground and vomited blood. Mr. Chiao rushed forward, and he transmitted a secret message to Mr. Wei. Old man Wei, it's my turn. You can't always show off. Mr. Wei was stunned. Mr. Chiao stepped on Yang Hai's head and pushed his head into the ground. His body kept twitching, and he only breathed his last breath. Just when Mr. Wei and Mr. Chiao were about to send Yang Hai back to the west, there were ripples in the sky. A black figure suddenly appeared. The person who came was a middle-aged man with cold eyes. He lowered his head and frowned when he saw the scene on the ground. Mr. Wei, Mr. Chiao, don't go too far. The middle-aged man's voice was cold. When Lin Zixuan and Zhangwan saw this person, their eyes became wary. This person is from the Southwest Yang family. The Yang family is a wealthy apex-level family in the southwest. The current head of the Yang family and his two younger brothers are called the three heroes of the Yang family by the southwestern monks. What appears now is Yang Zhen, the youngest among the three heroes. It is said that this person's methods are extremely vicious. There is a saying in southwest China, it is better to provoke the king of hell than the three heroes. Anyone who dares to go against the three heroes of the Yang family will eventually disappear from the world. Linzhou belongs to the Xia Kingdom and is far apart from the East China region and the Southwest region. Yang Zhen happened to be working in Jinling City, which was not too far from Linzhou, for the past 2 days. After learning about the one-sword dragon slaying incident in Linzhou, he decided to rush to Linzhou to find out. Unexpectedly, as soon as he arrived here, he saw Yang Hai being tortured and dying. Yang Hai and Yang Zhen are half-brothers. However, Yang Hai is an illegitimate son and has never been recognized by the Yang family. But the Yang family secretly supported Yang Hai to join the Yinbu because of his cultivation talent, and became the current head of the Linzhou branch. Yang Hai can also be regarded as a pawn of the three heroes of the Yang family. No matter what, the blood of the Yang family always flows in Yang Hai's body. Yang Zhen naturally couldn't watch Yang Hai being killed by Mr. Wei and Mr. Chiao. Yang Hai struggled and saw Yang Zhen in the sky. He desperately used his last strength to shout, "Third brother, save me." Yang Hai is slightly younger than the three heroes of the Yang family. Mr. Wei and Mr. Chiao looked up at Yang Zhen. When they went to the southwest, they met the three heroes of the Yang family. The three heroes of the Yang family entertained them at that time. Yang Zhen's figure slowly landed on the ground, and his body suddenly erupted with the aura of the early stage of the creation realm. He roughly understood what happened from the comments of the people around him. His cold eyes focused on Suyu. "Mr. Wei, Mr. Chiao, I don't have to argue with you. But this kid must die today."